I picked up a clumsy log and threw it at the water trough with a clatter. I think it did not hit him, but suddenly that part of him that was left behind convulsed in undignified haste. He missed his target, and the snake hastened its departure, vanishing into the bowels of the earth. Notice how the poet has used the transferred epithet clumsy to define his act. It was not the log that was clumsy. Rather, it was his action in throwing the log that was a clumsy and awkward act of random violence. At this point, he even remembered the story of an ancient sailor who killed an albatross and was punished by the divine forces for it. I thought, how paltry, how vulgar, what a mean act. I despised myself and the voices of my accursed human education. And I thought of the albatross and I wished he would come back, my snake. Sound familiar? It should, because the poem that the speaker remembered is actually in your syllabus. We have a whole series of videos ready for you when you are ready to study the rhyme of the ancient mariner. The poet also became afraid of such punishment. In his mind, the snake became like an exiled king who could not be crowned anymore. He concluded that pettiness had robbed him of the opportunity to teach the world how not to use might, especially against weaker creatures of nature. For he seemed to me again like a king in exile, uncrowned in the underworld, now due to be crowned again. And so, I missed my chance with one of the lords of life, and I have something to expiate, a pettiness. The poet tried to examine this mean human act through the medium of personification. He presented the snake as a guest, a godlike king and lord of life. Through this poem, Lawrence asked that human beings accept all living creatures as honored guests and treat them with respect and awe. The poem also uses irony very effectively. Irony is a figure of speech where something is quite opposite to what it initially looks like. The irony here lies in the fact that it is man who is projected as the savage instead of the snake. Man is really not as civilized and cultured as we believe. The snake is depicted as more civilized and as having more dignity in the sense that it does not hurt anyone unless provoked. There is no mean-spirited violence in the snake. The sudden violence that the poet is capable of almost violates a sacred law of nature. Man, who is considered a higher species of nature, is shown as degraded and capable of harming other life forms without any reason. Later, the speaker feels great remorse and regrets his action against the snake. This realization of the speaker finally shows us a ray of hope about the existence of humanity and its ability to mend its ways. Now that we have studied the main theme and context of the poem, let us now try to answer a few questions. Question 1. Why did the snake have the aura of a god? The snake drank water and looked around with nonchalance, almost oblivious of the world around him, and not paying any attention to the poet. It appeared as if the snake lived in isolation from the happenings of the outside world, like a god who presided over other creatures. So, the poet felt that the snake was like a god. Question 2. Why did the poet have conflicting thoughts in his mind? The poet had the preconceived idea that snakes are, by nature, dangerous and hostile. He had been taught to be suspicious of poisonous reptiles and to kill them if he had the chance. However, the sight of the snake drinking peacefully at the water trough, much like docile cattle do, made the poet question this idea. Thus, he had conflicting thoughts. We hope this video gives you everything you need to be able to answer any question that you are asked in your exam. Let's go through our exercises video for some more practice.